Hello, I'm Orange Cat, and this is my analysis of Toonami's ratings for October 20th, 2018. Now, to make a long story short off the bat, these are very ugly again. And I'm just going to begin from the start of the block with Dragon Ball Z Kai. It was at a mere 0.15, very disappointing. It was a small drop from last week, but it really hasn't done that well at all since being put back on the block, probably due to the lack of a natural lead-in for it. My Hero Academia, for an episode that's not really generally considered, but by a sizable amount of the fan base, is considered the best episode in the entire series. Only getting a 0.15, something you do not want to see for an episode of that magnitude. And then you have the Naruto Boruto Power Hour, just ugly. I can't say it on this. Just a downright ugly day for that. Like you have Naruto going to a 0.13 and Boruto down to a 0.15, which is bad enough. But for perspective, right afterwards, you had a repeat of the first episode of Fully Cooley Alternative, beating both of them at a 0.16, which is again not a great number, but for a repeat, especially considering most people thought it should have been pushed back immediately after it ran its original run, not a horrible number at all. You have Attack on Titan, small drop, but again, 0.17, not an amazing number at all. Then JoJo really took a hit. It's down to a 0.13 this week. Black Clover, not bad, holding at a 0.14. It's one of the better shows this week in terms of ratings because it held, not because it gained. No shows on the block actually gained this week, which is a rarity, really. You have Hunter x Hunter. Again, another episode that many people rank up there as among the best episodes in the entire series. Dropped 100 though, point to a 0.12. And you have One Punch Man, the first rerun of the night, down a little to a 0.11. And then shit gets a little bonkers. Lupin the Third and both episodes of Samurai Jack go below a 0.1. Admittedly, if you're going rounded, then they round up to a 0.1. But an unrounded, this might be the first time in the history of Toonami that it ever got below a 0.1 unrounded. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is. And that's just a very ugly milestone to reach. But I'll first go and say, at least the schedule will be different next week. You'll have Mob Psycho 100, an anime which I have yet to see. I've heard about, and I've been waiting for the dub, so I'm excited to see that on Toonami, and something that really feels like it can fit very well. Like, imagine a more toned down version of My Hero Academia made by the same people who did One Punch Man. Well, it was made by the same people who did One Punch Man. That's the feel I get from it personally, from at least the promos, I mean. And then you have Fully Cooley. I'm not sure if this is official. Alternative, I believe, is being pushed back to 2 a.m. Just smart, considering it's the most expensive rerun they have on the block. Might as well make it your first rerun. So I suppose that means that One Punch Man, Lupin the Third will get pushed back one slot each to 2:30 and 3 o'clock. Samurai Jack will hold down Ford at 3:30, right before Boondocks to begin the rest of Adult Swim for that night. But yeah, my theory for why the ratings really dropped this week, one, it cannot be the lead-in. It actually had a very good lead-in. It had the Terror Tales of the Park from regular show. Two episodes of it, in fact, air beforehand. And although it's not a perfect lead-in, it's definitely better than Puss in Boots. It's definitely better than the Squeakle. Oh, by the way, next week it's Puss in Boots again, if my TV guide is correct. So it's going to be a little disappointing. It hit the perfect shitstorm of one college football season. Well, you could say that for most of the last few weeks. But also, don't forget that an MLB Game 7, the NLCS Game 7, was also around the same time. And then you had LeBron James' home debut for the LA Lakers, which had extra fanfare go on the block. And you can see that here if you look towards the top of the picture. Like they both went over a 1 in their ratings for this is just for cable. Like when you have like the college football games like ABC on Fox, they got good numbers too, and that's taken away from the potential Toonami audience. But I think it's just a fluke in a way, I'll say, because of that. Like you're not gonna have an MLB game 7 every Saturday night. And you're not gonna have a momentous game like LeBron's first game in LA as a Laker every Saturday night either. Like I said, it got the perfect storm going up against them, and then that really hurt, especially Naruto and Boruto. I bet a lot of people really are gonna pounce on that, saying, "Why do we have Naruto this early in the block? Why did we get Boruto? No one really wanted it on this block." But at the same time, I would say for the time being, give them a little patience. Because when you had last week, you had a bad lead in, but you didn't have the shitstorm of sports go against it. It got like a point too, which is pretty good for holding down the fort at that time period. Fully Cooley now to Fully Cooley alternative, like a .16 is not great, but for a rerun that early, it's not a bad number. It built on Naruto and Boruto. It did better than My Hero Academia airing a well, not really new episodes since the dubs have been out on Funimation for a bit, but it's optimistic. I think Fully Cooley Alternative can hold down the fort a bit late in the block. The big concern that this block has had is that the ratings just plummet especially when you get to the rerun part of the block. And you have something that's a recent release, something that's at least a big name for Toonami standards and Fully Cooley on the block at that time, I think can really help hold down things and make sure they don't really fall off the face of the earth like they did this week with Lupin the Third and the 2 episodes of Samurai Jack. But yeah, and it's again just disappointing to see how My Hero Academia with a particularly hype episode go down in Hunter x Hunter 2. And at the same time, it's just you're gonna have to look at this from that perspective, like I mentioned, that it had what might be the highest rated ESPN basketball non-playoff game you're gonna have all year. And it went up against an MLB Game 7. Those always get big ratings. So I would say don't overreact to this. It's not the end of the world. And I could put good money that the ratings will in general be better next week because it's not going to have an MLB Game 7 go up against it. Or, well, it's going to have an NBA game, but it's not going to be that type of fanfare around it, even with the college football games around it. And like I said, when college football season eases up towards December, and typically when the weather gets cold in winter too, ratings naturally increase. I would say wait until then before you make any real hot takes about the block. It's going to get a little better in the midterm future here. So like I said, but like again, this week, ugly ratings, maybe the first time ever getting below a .1 unrounded any point in the block, but we get Mob Psycho 100 next week. I'm hyped for it. I know a lot of people are hyped for it. So like I said, I'll be patient and be optimistic for the future for the ratings. I am Orange Cat, and that is all.